All right, Stampscapes Spooky Quick Scene. We're starting off with a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of one of Deanna Tubb-Sedillo's background papers. And we have this area down below that looks like land, and this, of course, looks like sky. There's other ways that we can interpret her background pieces, but if we just go straight forward with it, I believe that's what those areas are to represent. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the new Halloween imagery along with some of the tombstones from previous release. And let's see what we can come up with here. Really inking up my stamp thoroughly because I want a nice dark impression, as dark as you can get on this type of paper, which is pre-printed, of course, but it's a matte paper, so it's pretty porous and accepts inks pretty well, but it is printering that you're stamping on, so that it's going to be a little bit more sealed off than just a blank piece of, matte cardstock, so keep that in mind. Even though something is matte, it's still been printed on. So I'm holding this down a little bit longer just to allow that ink to transfer there. Okay, so I haven't used my hearse stamp in a card yet, so this will be my first time. It's like going up here to Boot Hill or something like that, I don't know. And let's go with something like this. I'm trying to think if I want to add a couple of these tombstones up here first. I tell you what, we don't have a lot of space on here, so I think I'm just going to use a partial impression right here to go to the right of that tree. About like that. And then I have these other ones down here, but let's work around the hearse. Let's see, actually, now that I'm measuring here, or taking, I don't know, loose measure, I'm going to ink up a couple more of these tombstones here, but let's remove some of the ink off of the previously stamped tombstone, just so I don't get a double image here. Or a ghost image, I should say. Okay, so I'm just using, it's roughly 2 to 3 tombstones here. Let's go down here like so. Tombstones, if it's supposed to be like an old cemetery, you can kind of skew them. You can stamp them out at angles, and it actually kind of adds to that whole vibe, I guess you can say. All right, just eyeballing it here. Sometimes what people do is they stamp with their imagery onto like a piece of clear acetate, and they keep that with their stamp so that they can kind of put that clear acetate, and position things to see how they would look, before they even stamp it, which is a really great idea. That I don't do, but you certainly could. I didn't press real hard up here. Let me see if I can match this up here. Or I can just actually draw it in too, but let's see if we can get this here. There we go. Okay. Actually, I don't. Why is. There's something on there. Let me do something here. Pick up the top right there. Like the back end of this hearse. Okay, let's see here. I'm just gonna do this because it's all silhouette anyway. Up top. Okay, there we go. And I'm missing my little head there for the driver, like that. Okay. Now we have this space down here. Let's go for a little bit of added perspective here. With larger forms, about like so. When you do a repetition of form like this with tombstones or shapes, you know, front or near and far, you create that extra kind of spatial whatever relationships, I guess. Okay, now that I have kind of my major imagery set in here, I'm going to leave this a little bit more open right over here, but I think I'm going to go for a couple more of these tombstones right over here. I'm kind of using the same part of this stamp. Mostly the right-hand side of it. And then we'll go right in here. And so we have this kind of area that we've established. I don't want to put tombstones over here because it's going to interfere with the silhouette of the hearse and you know, the horses there. All right, now here's the question: do we want some things in the sky? I think I do. There's a bunch of bats up here that I can put. I think, you know what I'm going to do? Okay, now these art foamies aren't out quite yet. They're test ones. But that's what these are for. I'm going to put like a big overhang right here, I think, which could potentially be a really great spot for some crows. So I just tested this out. I'm going to ask the makers of art foamies to make this tree a little bit bigger, and by about, I don't know, I think an inch wider, I think it is, just to make it contrast against the larger rubber stamp version of it, and I think it'll be a lot more dramatic. So I love these art foamies for their abilities in larger scale sizes from my rubber stamp versions. So I mean, that can go for just any type of image, though. The art foamery contours to your paper. The other side of it, while they can get pretty detailed, like if there's like a heavily stippled area with a lot of gradations of tone, that's not what the art foamies are, you know, strong at. Although they, like I said, they do retain a lot of detail in there. But the rubber versions are able to go even more. But like I said, these ones really surprise me, just in terms of their capabilities, you know, because they're all they're cut out of foam digitally, or not digitally, but laser cut. So pretty cool. But yeah, larger formats are no problem to stamp out. And while we are stamping over some of Deanna's cool backgrounds, when you put things in front of a real textured background, you might be covering up some of it, but I think that you're enhancing it because this kind of speckled textured background, the qualities of it can be even more enhanced. So if it looks, you put something just dark and solid in front of something more textured and nuanced, it makes that seem even more so by contrast, and also makes something that's light up there seem lighter by having something darker around it, like that. Okay, now I'm just going to take a black colored pencil. This one's an watercolor pencil, but you can use a black colored pencil. You might be able to use a charcoal pencil or something like that too. I think on this paper though, the colored pencils work really great. So this is our light source in here. It's not as like isolated and specific as if there were a moon in here or something like that. We have this kind of entire strip. So as far as like creating shadows in here, I'm just going to do a basic kind of base. Okay, now for these distant little tombstones like this, all I need to do is just kind of do a little bit of shadow, and I'm going to try to trail it off and taper it, going from dark to light down like that. Okay. So it's not like, again, this isn't like a moon casting, really elongated shadows or something like that. But, and you don't have to put shadows down either, but I just find that it really anchors the imagery, and it gives the imagery kind of some visual weight when you add shadows, even if it's a really small one. Okay, so it's like, okay, well, the tombstones are easy. You just kind of add that little bit and trail it down a touch, or the tree in here. But for something like the hearse, it could be, I know it could be kind of confusing. I think about it too when I'm stamping this out, but I'm just going to put something a little, kind of a light shade like that. And it could be something as, quick and, oh, kind of minuscule in terms of effort. But just having kind of that light shadow in there like that. Kind of helps to sit the image down in the scene quite a bit more. Oh, it just so happened, I'm looking at this right here. It just so happened that this is a warmer area of Deanna's sky, like on the horizon. So that really worked out really great for the interior kind of illumination coming out of the hearse. All right. there we go. With, I don't know, I don't have a title. Final trip. Something like that. This would be a great spot for a little quote stamp or something like that. I don't know, piece or something. Let me see if I have something, and I'll take a look at and see if I have any scenic sentiment stamps that can be appropriate for up there. Okay, I have a night. Dusk would have been cool on here too. It's kind of like twilight or something like that. Twilight in there would be kind of cool. It's a little bit deeper than twilight, but then we do have that horizon glow going down there. It's like in between night and twilight, maybe. But we'll just go with night here. Off the scenic sentiment set. And this might, I mean, it would definitely stand out more if I stamped this on a separate piece of paper and give it a little mat and put it down there. But, you know, the whole idea of this card right here is just doing a quick card. I'll mat this off probably, though. But I just felt like doing some stamping and coming up with a quick scene. And that's one of those things that, like Deanna's papers really provide the opportunity for, is coming up with something really fast. Just different things like, you know, your vintage papers or something like that would be really fun to work on. And I haven't been working on this too much lately, the wood grain paper, but something like this scene on the wood grain paper would be cool too. I stopped using some of this wood grain placemat paper just because I don't think it's for sale anymore. I don't see it offered anywhere, so I don't want to be using too many different types of supplies that aren't on the market anymore. But with some things you can kind of substitute. You can use a certain type of ink for another one, but that type of wood grain paper is pretty specific. Anyway, really had fun working on this quick scene here. Thanks to Deanna for providing me with some of these papers to experiment with and to play around with, and really to have a lot of fun with. Quick and really easy fun too. And with those backgrounds like that, she really removes a lot of the a certain part of the process as far as kind of establishing drama in a scene, because it's already kind of set. You're just putting a scene over the top of it, or utilizing the whatever the formatting for your own purpose. So really fun to do. Hope you enjoyed the card. Hold on a second here. One final touch. Okay, you see these crows in here? Now, in the design, I have their eyes kind of in a little pinhole of light. But since we stamped those birds against this established background, you know, where it's darker in the background, their eyes are darker. So I'm going to reestablish their eye like that. One little tiny, tiny detail there. But if someone's into crows, maybe they'll appreciate it because it just stands out a little bit more. But still, subtle because it's dark against, a little bit less dark in the background. All right. Thanks for watching.